Today I want to show you what it's like to drive a Porsche 996 C2. I've owned this Porsche 996 for almost 9 months now. While I've done a few videos on the 996 generation Porsche 911, I realized I haven't actually done one on exactly how this drives. Well, I'm going to rectify that right now. And with that, here are 5 takeaways to convey exactly how this 1999 Porsche 911 Carrera drives. Takeaway number 1, the steering feel. One of the best features of the 996 generation Porsche 911 is the steering. While the latest 911s have a decent steering feel, and Porsche has really improved the electric steering since its first debut, the 996 gets the benefit of having classic hydraulic steering that offers much more feel. Because of this, you get the right amount of road feel in your hands as you're driving. But as opposed to many of the earlier 911s without power steering, you get the right amount of feel, but without it feeling very heavy, especially at low speeds. In fact, with steering feel this good, you'll just be looking for the next corner. And here's takeaway number 2, the direct connected feel. Beyond the steering wheel, the entire car is quite a bit more analog than current cars. This analog feeling really does give you the sense that you are just an extension of the car. Now, this particular car does have the cable-driven throttle body that was in the earliest 996s. Because of the cable-driven throttle body, the feel of the gas pedal is just right. Some of the later cars that are drive-by-wire can feel a bit sluggish when you hit the gas pedal unless you do some modifications. While this 996 does still have a very connected feel, it is a Tiptronic car, and the experience is not quite as connected as you would be if it was a manual, because you're not having to use both feet. Although putting it into manual mode and shifting with the buttons on the steering wheel does help with this connection, and you can upgrade it to have paddle shifters on the steering wheel if you want. Now, I probably would have got a manual car if it wasn't for some knee issues, but the Tiptronic is way easier to live with if you have to drive in traffic. My previous 986 Boxster was a manual car, and I did drive that through Bay Area traffic, and that was just a nightmare. But even with that, I am on board with saving the manuals. And here's takeaway number 3, very little Nanny protections. Newer Porsches offer all kinds of computer wizardry, things like torque vectoring that make the car feel way more neutral than it inherently is. With some of these Nanny features, it feels like there's just plain wizardry in how they change the characteristics of the car. It's to the point that someone may need to alert the church elders about the Porsche engineers and their black magic. This particular car has basic traction control, and that's it. While that is somewhat of a Nanny feature, it's something that isn't noticeable even in very sporty driving. And if you're feeling lucky, it can easily be turned off. Now, there are still 2 more takeaways, but if you've liked this video so far, go ahead and smash that like button if you're into that sort of thing. And here's takeaway number 4, revving it out. This particular car has the 3.4 liter flat 6. Later cars, including the 3.6 liter 996, don't have to be revved out as much because they have more low-end torque. With the 3.4 liter engines, a lot of the power and torque are above 5,000 RPMs. This helps give it more of a vintage Porsche feel, and many Porsche lovers really do prefer the early 3.4s because of this. Most of the air-cooled 911s had to be revved a bit more to help you pass slower traffic, and this helps this water-cooled 911 feel a bit more like the earlier air-cooled cars. Besides, as the old Porsche ad said, at over 5,000 RPMs, you can't hear your passenger scream. And here's takeaway number 5, the feel of the rear engine bias. Over the years, Porsche has overcome its biggest flaw, the rear engine layout. They've done this with suspension setup and then more recently with computers. With a 996, you get a vintage feel, but because of the suspension setup, it has more neutral handling than some of the earlier cars. It does this, but while still retaining that feel of the rear engine bias, so you know it's there and could let go at any moment. After all, this is one of the things that makes a 911 so special and allows very skilled drivers to do incredible things in a 911. And hey, according to Hollywood, a Porsche 996 C2 can even take out a jet. Driving an early Porsche 996 C2 is one of the best driving experiences you can have, especially when you consider the price. But just a word of warning, watch out, because you may not want to get out from the driver's seat once you've experienced it.